Welcome to the top 24 stories of 2024 from Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show with nearly 10 million views on the only daily live queer news show in the world.
This is the most popular and subscribed to LGBTQ brand in Florida and one of the top in the world, baby.
It is Monday, December 23rd. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell on Queer News Tonight.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show. Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
Hey everyone, I'm your lead anchor, FayWhat, and I'm joined tonight by these incredible anchors and friends, Vaughn Biggs, Bonnie Builder, TriniDaddy, and Gregg Shapiro. This is a special broadcast of Queer News Tonight.
2024 has been one of the most dramatic for the LGBTQ community in history. Queer News Tonight brought you so many of these stories this year.
Combined, Hotspots Happening Out has brought you more than 2,500 stories about and for our LGBTQ community. We don't know what 2025 will bring.
There's fear over the transfer of power on January 20th, so we thought we would finish our year by looking back. Of those 2,500 stories, let's look at the top 24 stories of 2024.
This curated list is drawn from Queer News Tonight, The FayWhat Show, Queer God Squad, and Hotspots Magazine. This is what was important to all of us in 24.
Interested in supporting you. I started to see how things were affecting my daughter's family and my grandson, who is transgender.
It's been very, very disappointing. It was a no-brainer. I'm voting Democrat. And it doesn't take intelligence, it just takes compassion. Whether you're a grandparent, whether you're a parent, an aunt, or an uncle.
Some of the laws are really onerous. They ignore professional medical advice. They ignore privacy between the doctor and patient. They just seem to be somewhat out of touch. 30-some medical organizations that all endorse gender-affirming therapies. I'm not smarter than the doctors, and we have legislators who think they know better. Need to let people live and let live, and I don't think this is an issue where the government needs to be involved, and it's an overreach.
Older couple leave Republican Party over trans grandchild. You know, 2024 has been so difficult for our trans siblings. And during election time, they were the target. They were the lowest hanging fruit. They were the ones that were targeted from all angles. So stories like this gave us joy during that time, gave us hope. You know, this older couple had voted Republican their whole entire life. And until they were affected, until they loved their grandchild no matter what, and saw what the future might bring for their child, for their grandchild, it made them do something that probably most people wouldn't think of. You know, changing someone's party is huge when it comes to these old school voters, you know, but compassion and love had to take precedence over the party that they're used to voting for.
Right. Common sense comes at any age, late in life, early in life. Common sense will click at some point. And all it took was them loving and valuing their family member to be like, maybe I shouldn't vote against their rights.
Right?
And you would think that would be commonplace, but it's not.
No.
And as we enter our 2025th year on this earth as a people, we have a lot of fighting to do. But if they can change their minds, that gives me hope for the future that is ahead of us, of what we can do.
For sure.
I think it's so typical of conservative mentalities that it's a problem until it hits home. And once it hits home, then you rethink the idea. And I probably I'm an independent, but I've always, tried to listen to each side of the story. But I think I have to say I'm pretty solidly anti-Republican now. And the reason why I am is what this grandparent couple was saying is, when you see a group of people that are so easily platforming unnecessarily cruel campaigns against a group of people that are already marginalized and hurting, there's legitimate conversation and discussion to be had about these topics, but seeing them do that and how it affects children as well and their family, it's enough to say, there's not enough people in the party standing up against this, that if you all are complicit with this, and even if you don't believe this, but you're signing on to it and you're not stopping the people, there's a problem and I can't be a part of this anymore. So bravo to you guys.
I love that.
Well, I, for one, am looking forward to all the cases of Republican voters' remorse that will arise within just the first few days of this deplorable administration. My calming mantra, told you so.
Oh my God. Going back to what Trini said, Vaughn, right? It's different when it happens, when it's in your own family, right? Then it's different, right? Unless you're Elon Musk and you're just a disgusting, deplorable person, right? For the most part, when it's your child, it kind of jars you in a way to go, okay, let me reassess what's going on,
And I think, and some of these, and we've done some other stories, not necessarily switching parties, but regarding, policies putting in place for our transgender siblings that they're ignoring medical advice. They're making a decision without true medical professionals
Very true.
advice. And you heard that in the story. I mean, that's what they said that.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me that people think they know better when there's data, there's medicine.
You know better than the AMA.
Well, right. So.
You know better than the AMA.
Right.
They don't.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
We are bringing you a special presentation of the 24 biggest stories of the year. We call it the Top 24 of 2024. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ plus stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story of 2024. I'm Vaughn Biggs, and let's queer up the top stories of the year. This is number 23 of 2024. Leading Christians sign letter against Christian nationalism and what it means to the LGBTQ+. This story was broadcast on February 28, 2024, and was originally on Queer God Squad. There is a split between Christianity. One group rejects Christian nationalism for its bigotry, while another rallies for its divisive ideology. Let's take a look.
Leading Christians sign letter against Christian nationalism and what it means to LGBTQ+. Amidst the ongoing debate surrounding Christian nationalism, two events that took place within the span of 1 year have highlighted the opposing viewpoints within the Christian community. On one front, Christians Against Christian Nationalism launched a statement denouncing the ideology, emphasizing the importance of religious pluralism and condemning any form of oppression or violence against religious minorities. The movement aims to uphold the principles of democracy while rejecting the merging of Christian and American identities, which it argues distorts both faith and governance. This is critically important to members of the LGBTQ+ community that feel their faith and church hates them. Through the Sign the Christians Against Christian Nationalism Statement initiative, the organization invites Americans to sign the statement and show support for inclusiveness, diverse faith, and cultural diversity within the country. Sparked by events outside the U.S. Capitol, a mob gathered to express support for Christian nationalism, waving flags and donning MAGA hats. But Georgia McKee, witnessing the stark divergence, captured the scene in a video that gained significant traction on social media. In response, the Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty initiated the At End Christian Nationalism TikTok account, garnering over 40,000 followers. McKee, running the account, emphasizes the distinction between Christian nationalism and true Christian values, aiming to combat the former through grassroots activism and education. These events show that there is a limit to the spread of bigotry and conservative views when it comes to faith, and we expect the same to be true when it comes to conservative views against the LGBTQ+ community.
You know, I look at this and I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, separation of church and state. And while religion is protected, you know, I feel like everyone has a right to believe in whatever religion, whatever shape or form that is in this country, and that's what this country was built on. So when I continue to see people trying to push a specific Christian value into government, it becomes a problem because nobody can, once that's there, it's going to be even harder to remove it.
Well, it's a relief to know there are still religious people with common sense and sensitivity at this most terrifying and treacherous time in our country's history. It's nice to hear that they're there.
Religion scares me. It's always scared me, unfortunately, right? I have PTSD, and I know that we broadcast from a church, you know, and Sunshine Cathedral has really helped me with those triggers. So has Unity on the Bay, right? No, that there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but in every news story that I see, there doesn't seem to be, because it seems like you're trying to force religion into every, wait, not religion, Christianity, okay? Because there are many religions.
That's right. There's no Buddhism being forced.
No, they're not forcing Buddhism, right? But they're forcing, you know, Catholicism and Christianity, and that scares me. So then that makes me scared even more about religion, because now you're telling me about Christians wearing MAGA hats. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still triggered by the American flag on a freaking truck because of the Trumpers. Right. You know, Trini, I'm super curious as to what you think about this.
I think that the media has been doing a disservice on this topic for the past 10 years because Pete Buttigieg, he brought it up. He's the first person that brought it to the national political stage, where he's talked about there needs to be a rise in the Christian left. Because you always hear about the Christian right. Christian right is like, we've got to put our religion in schools, all this stuff. The Christian left is like, what about those passages about taking the person from a different country and love them as your neighbor?
Right. Feeding the hungry.
Exactly, which is all against the Republican principles. So it always confused me when I was a young religious person and I was a clergy member. I used to hear these conservative people in my Southern Baptist circle, and I would say, why are you guys believing, like, we just preached a whole sermon on feeding the homeless and like treating people who are from other places, just like this Middle Eastern man named Joseph and Mary came into, like, it's the whole Christmas story. And it was hard for me to understand how you could subscribe to a political party that was kind of the opposite of this. And Pete Buttigieg, to his credit, came out and said, yes, this is such a contradiction, and we need to have a rise in Christian left, and we need to be platforming them and having these conversations on CNN and MSNBC because it's always painted as the Christian right. And they're there, so we need to have that dialogue between the two groups to give power to the Christian left to say these people don't represent us because they're not really speaking out to silence these people, and they need role models to do that.
100%.
Now, I will say, in the Black community, there's a certain issue constantly going on where I can't tell where the larger Black population lies. The Black population tends to be pretty conservative when it comes to certain things, like how they view queer people and all that good stuff. But then they also see how the Christian Republicans treat Black people, and they're like, well, obviously they don't mess with us, so I don't want to lean that way.
Yeah.
So it's really truly a case by case basis with each Black person you meet, specifically the non-queer ones. It's like you don't mess with the Black queers or any queer at all, but you also know that on the far right they will be happy to lynch you at any given moment. So like where do you lie religiously? Like what is your Christianity? And I think it's I think most religious, particularly Christianity, there's a lot of hypocrisy in it. You can love thy neighbor unless they are different. They say that their love is unconditional until a condition comes up, and then it is proven otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's very, I don't necessarily subscribe to the Christian faith, even though I grew up Southern Baptist and down in Miami, Florida, Martin Luther King Drive, Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. I was on the usher board as a kid and all the good stuff. But then as you learn and experience life, you realize maybe what they taught me isn't what I necessarily believe in. And I still have, like you said, trauma from that. Like last night, my husband and I were watching clips from the movie Prince of Egypt. And watching, I was getting like this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I was like, oh, this is kind of Christian propaganda a little bit, this whole film. Look back at The Prince of Egypt. You'll be like, oh, this is propaganda. And when you start watching films like that, I start getting like a sick feeling in my stomach because of everything I had to endure growing up. So that's my stance. I hope the cool left Christians with the blue hair and all that good stuff, I hope y'all make yourself known, start speaking up, and let us feel more comfortable in that faith, please.
Vaughn?
I grew up, with Christian background. I've been in Methodist, Southern Baptist. I've not been Catholic, other than I work for a Catholic institution now. But I'm one that really firmly believes it's all about love. It's not about. I love studying theology, but I love studying all the theology of all the religions. Because there is a common thread in every one of them, and it is about love. And that's what I try to hold on to. I don't want to judge people. There's too much drama in that.
Right?
We get enough of that in our community.
Right, but it's hard not to judge when we start thinking of people being guided, wars starting over religious beliefs, over things that are written in a book that was translated 1 million times and was written by a basic man, we go back to that, and that just, 2025, we're going to be in store for some stuff, especially when it comes to this topic. So,
also, if I may interject, I don't know if I've ever heard an interpretation where Jesus, because there wasn't Christianity before Jesus, so the Bible, where he was saying that the government has to be involved. There was never advocacy for the government. This was a personal decision of what to do. So it's not biblical to say that we have to convert our entire governmental system into being
I believe
Christian.
it's actually against it. I believe there were areas where he actually was completely against government rule.
They pick and
and
choose.
mixing
They
the
pick and
two
choose what they
together,
want.
that the two of them, the whole Sanhedrin thing about you getting kickbacks as soon as you mix church and government together, it's a bad combination and everybody loses. So
And if you're going to mix it together, start taxing them.
Right. If they're going to speak up, right?
Right? Amen to that. Amen to that. So we are bringing you a special presentation of the 24 biggest stories of the year. We call it the Top 24 of 2024. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
And now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story of 2024. I am obviously Bonnie Builder, and let's quote the top stories of the year. This is number 22, baby, of 2024. DNC has most unique roll call in history and rocks LGBTQ community. This story was broadcast on August 22nd. Remember when the DNC conducted an electrifying and inclusive roll call supporting queer voices? We need this nostalgia now more than ever after November 5th. Let us take a look.
Let's begin by queering up breaking news. DNC has the most unique roll call in history and rocks LGBTQ plus community. Watch this.
With the call of the roll of the states.
Delegates, are you ready? Let me hear you.
Iowa, 40 delegates.
Dude, you gotta do it.
Georgia, 59 delegates.
Get loud! Another round of shots! DNC, turn out for what? Turn out for what? Hey, turn out for what?
West Virginia, 32 votes. President Donald J. Trump.
Party people, come on. TNC, party people, come on. Roll call, party people, come on. TNC, party people, come on.
The DNC shocked.
Now, I'm going to say this on camera. This is low-key embarrassing after the fact. I would have much rather been at the DNC than the RNC. The RNC turnout was about yay big, and the DNC was about this big. But apparently, this is all you need to make it work. So, DNC looked fun. It was a good time. I had fun watching the videos on TikTok and Instagram. It was a huge party. After the fact, it's a little sad. But at the time, we were very excited and very hopeful.
Yeah. Well, following those disastrous election results, as three-letter acronyms go, DNC should probably stand for desperately in need of change.
Ooh.
I remember being on that show and commenting as everybody was so hopeful, and I was the little Muppet at the back of the third saying, I guess they're throwing a good party, but this has nothing to do with what the country, how the country is going to vote. And having Lil Jon and like Megan Thee Stallion, like, I don't think that's helping your cause. So I was pretty skeptical that that was actually doing any work, but I was hopeful that our country was going to turn the page on the Trumpism. So unfortunately, here we are, and we've got the next 4 years to fight.
You know, I was all like, oh, this was the best roll call ever. This is so cool. We're so much better than the DNC. And then Bonnie just made me feel like complete shit because she's right.
I mean,
you know what I mean? We're like, now it's like, okay, what was the point, right? Like, oh, that hurts me. You know, another fun fact about the story was I remember when we were talking about the RNC and how Grindr had blown up because of how many people were on there, you know? That was about all that the RNC did, right? And I was just like, come on, show all those names. Come on.
Hypocrites.
Well, we are bringing you a special presentation of the 24 biggest stories of the year. We call it the Top 24 of 2024. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the world. Support our LGBTQ plus stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, FayWhat, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the incredible anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Von Biggs, Bonnie Builder, TriniDaddy, and Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. to our LGBTQ plus world. We wish you love, generosity, bravery while being transformative and queer. Good night.